The Map by Ruba Qewar. Chapter 3. The Organizational Structure of the Evangelical Organizations. The factors of support Southern Baptist as an example. The organizational structure differs from one denomination to another. However, the most successful one has the paramedical substructure of the associational structure. There are other organizations that rely on the elders committee, such as the Free Evangelical Church. However, Lutheran, Baptist, Nazareth, and others have a home office executive committees, while other organizations are working under the big umbrella of congregations or conventions. Bismillah. Studying the organizational structure gives us an idea of how the evangelical organizations work. The missionaries that we see in Islamic countries are only the tip of the iceberg, which is extended from the West. The evangelical churches are currently centered in Islamic countries. Therefore, it is important to start with the foundation of the pyramid and know how they work in order to solve the problem of evangelism. Organizational structure of the Southern Baptist. As we see in the picture below of the organizational structure of the Southern Baptist Church, the SBC is the only connection between all the associations and has a president with committees. Each association is independent, having its own management. It is not permissible for any association to interfere in other associations' decision. In 1845, the SBC Southern Baptist Convention was founded in Georgia. Since then, the organization grew to have over 16 million members worshiping in 45,000 churches across the USA. The SBC sponsors over 5,000 missionaries in the USA, with more than 7,000 Christian missionaries in 153 countries worldwide. SBC holds annual meetings, which includes over 1,175 local associations and 42 state congregations. SBC is committed to spread Christianity all over the world. The aim of the SBC is to improve the relationships between the elements of the Southern Baptist, including local churches, charitable associations, state congregations, and local agencies. SBC also gives attention to the relationships they have with other Protestant denominations, including the Northern Baptist. The SBC includes messengers of the church. Each messenger presents 250 members of their local church. It is not permissible to send more than 10 messengers from each church in the annual conventions, and they must be approved by the church. It is not permissible for the SBC to make decisions on behalf of any other Baptist association, whether it's a church, seminary, or a state convention. Each association has the right to have president, vice presidents, and a treasurer. The executive committee is responsible of the required tests for the president. All members must be Southern Baptists, and all missionaries must be able to prove their continuous work from others in the church by the pastor's supervision or their service in church activities. The entities of the Southern Baptist Convention. 1. General Boards. International Mission Boards, IMB, in Richmond, Virginia. The North American Mission Board of the Southern Baptist in Alvarado in Georgia. Lifeway Christian Resources of the Southern Baptist Convention in Nashville, Tennessee, and Guidestone Financial Resources of the Southern Baptist Convention in Dallas, Texas. 2. Associations. The Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky, Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in Fort Worth, Texas, New Orleans Baptist Seminary in New Orleans, Louisiana, Golden Gate Baptist Theological Seminary in Melville, California, the Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary in Wake Forest, North Carolina, and Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in Kansas, Michigan. 3. The Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission of the Southern Baptist Convention in Nashville, Tennessee. 4. Women's Missionary Union in Birmingham, Alabama. The President of the Southern Baptist Convention is obligated to attend the annual Southern Baptist Convention. Each board is obligated to send their reports to the Southern Baptist Convention. The Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission. The Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission is an entity of the Southern Baptist Convention. The ERLC is dedicated to engaging culture with the gospel and speaking on issues to the public square for the protection of religious liberty and human flourishing. ERLC in Nashville, Tennessee, and Washington, D.C. is working to be influential upon the government and the White House. Through their media, ERLC tries to raise the morals of the USA and make it the best nation in history in their own perspective. Lifeway Christian Resources of the Southern Baptist Convention. There are more than 160 Lifeway Christian stores across the nation, as well as the Ridgecrest Conference Center in North Carolina. Through its publishing division, B&H Publishing Group, Lifeway publishes books and has produced the widely respected HCSB Bible translation. Lifeway is a non-profitable organization that reinvests income above operating expenses in mission work and other ministries around the world. Cooperative Program of Southern Baptist Convention. Since its inception in 1845, the Southern Baptist Convention, SBC, has always had one mission, the Great Commission, as it is mentioned in Matthew chapter 28, verses 19 and 20. Each SBC entity makes special offering appeals to the churches. This method was referred to as the societal approach to missions and resulted in severe financial deficits, competitions among entities, overlapping pledge campaigns, and frequent emergency appeals, which greatly hampered the expanding ministry opportunities. Some entities took out loans to cover operating costs until pledges or special offerings were received. In 1919, the leaders of the SBC proposed the $75 million campaign, a 5-year pledge campaign that for the first time included everything: the missions, the ministries of all the state conventions, as well as that of the Southern Baptist Convention. Since its launch in 1925, the effectiveness of the cooperative program has been dependent upon individuals, churches, state conventions, and SBC entities cooperating, working towards a common goal of sharing the gospel with every person on the planet. Cooperative program, how it works. On the website of the cooperative program, www.cpmissions.net, it says it begins with the individual. You give yourself first to God, as it is mentioned in 2 Corinthians 8:5. Next, out of the gratitude, the individual commits to contribute through his church. This is commonly called a tithe and represents 10% of the income, as it is mentioned in Leviticus chapter 27:30 and Malachi chapter 3 verse 10. The church decides the next step. Every year the church prayerfully decides how much of its non-designated funds will be committed to reaching people in the state and around the world. Through the cooperative program, this amount is then forwarded to the State Baptist Convention. During the annual meeting of the State Convention, messengers from the church, as well as other churches across the state, decide what percentage of cooperative program gifts contributed by a local congregation stays in the state to support local missions and ministries. They also determine the percentage to be forwarded to the Southern Baptist Convention for North Americans and international missions and ministries. At the Southern Baptist Convention annual meeting, messengers from across the country decide how the gifts received from the states will be distributed among all of the SBC entities. These gifts are used by the Southern Baptist entities to send and support missionaries, train pastors, to provide relief for retired ministers, their widows, and other ministry leaders. The bottom line, people from around the world hear the gospel and receive Christ. Note: the local Southern Baptist Association does not receive cooperative program gifts directly. It ministers through gifts received directly from churches and often receives cooperative program gifts indirectly in the form of support from state conventions and North American Mission Board. Cooperative program, what does it do? Quoted from their website www.cpmissions.net, open quote, churches in the state work together through the state convention to support a wide array of ministries and missions, including evangelism efforts, children's homes, volunteer missions, missions education, new churches, colleges and universities, collegiate ministries, camps, and much more. For additional information concerning the state convention, log on www.s.b.c.net and click on State Conventions. Through the International Mission Board, www.imb.org, Southern Baptists support approximately 5,624 missionaries who are engaging 655 groups of people of populations greater than 100,000 all around the world. Church planting and evangelism efforts coordinated by the North American Mission Board, www.namb.net, and individual state conventions result in more than 1,000 evangelistic churches planted each year. Working together, Southern Baptists saw 333,341 new believers baptized just in 2011 alone. 6 Southern Baptist seminaries, Southeastern, Midwestern, Southwestern, Golden Gate, and New Orleans, educate in excess of 16,000 pastors, missionaries, and future church leaders each year. The Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission is dedicated to addressing social, moral, and ethical concerns with particular attention to their impact on American families and their faith. They also provide print resources that offer scriptural responses to the moral and ethical problems of their culture. Although they receive no cooperative program support, Lifeway Christian Resources, Guidestone Financial Resources, and the Women's Missionary Union WMU actively promote the cooperative program in publications and mission resources. End quote. As we notice in the chart above, all the money that is collected from the churches within the same state are then sent to the state convention, while 75% of it will be distributed to the Christian missions. 50% of it goes to the International Mission Board. 22.5% goes to the North American Mission Board, and the remaining goes to other entities. In fact, 50% of the money is only 35% of the total IMB income, and 50% of the IMB income comes from Lottie Moon funds. Oklahoma State is one of such examples. 10% of the church income goes to the state convention, the Oklahoma State Convention, looking at around $26 million in 2010. 42% of the amount went to the state convention. That's about $11 million, and the rest was distributed to the other entities. For example, $6 million was given to the IMB, and $26 million was the income for the Oklahoma State Convention. So you can imagine the tremendous amount of money that gets collected from all states and utilized for evangelism. You may ask, who represents the financial ins and outs? Who does all the editing, following the reporting? Of course, there is a whole crew dedicated for such work, which is Executive Committee. Quoted from the website www.s.b.cec.org, open quote, the Executive Committee of the Southern Baptist Convention was formed in 1917 and established their offices in Nashville in 1927. At that time, the Southern Baptist Convention enlarged the committee's scope of duties to include acting on behalf of the convention between annual sessions. Currently, the Executive Committee is comprised of more than 80 representatives chosen from qualified states and defined territories. Although the Executive Committee does not control or direct the activities of convention agencies, it reviews their financial statements and recommends the convention's annual operating budget. In addition, it receives and distributes the money Southern Baptists give in support of denominational ministries as the recipient and trust agencies for all the convention properties, and provides public relations and news services. It also performs other tasks assigned by the SBC and promotes the general work of Southern Baptists. To carry out these duties, the committee employs an executive and professional staff in its Nashville offices. Baptists represent more than a third of all church members in the United States. More than 40% of all Baptist churches are affiliated with the Southern Baptist Convention. Local churches aligned with the Southern Baptist Convention are committed to sharing Christ with every person in the world. In order to understand contemporary Southern Baptist Convention operations, it is important to understand the work of the Executive Committee. The Executive Committee is to act for the Southern Baptist Convention ad interim or between sessions, reviewing the work of the convention's entities. This committee itself is subject to the review of the convention. In 1917, the Southern Baptist Convention altered its basic structure when it authorized the formation of the Executive Committee. Its formation was the outgrowth of 4 years of effort to bring order to the convention's growing agenda and complicated structure that had developed over the years. At that time, at least 33 committees were appointed every year. In the history of the Executive Committee, Albert McClellan stated, open quote, the use of so many committees created problems. One, they were in some instances assigned complex issues without full information. Two, they consumed too much of the convention's time in reporting. 29 of the committees had to do their work and report to the convention within a 6-day period. 3. The committees of references for board reports were barriers between the person's responsibility for the boards and the convention. 4. Too many committees were keeping the convention preoccupied with mechanics when it should have been concerned with the message. 5. The 4 committees appointed to plan for the 1911 convention appointed to the need for standing committees to work between sessions. 6. There still was no general committee to gather up the loose ends. Too much time was spent admiring the library, and there was little time left to study the books. End quote. The convention elects the members of this committee who come from the 41 state conventions. The executive committee is not a board, but a committee that means while it can make recommendations to or about entities or issue reports on entities. No entity is directly accountable to it. Each entity is directly responsible to the Convention of Church Messengers in annual session. This provides a direct approach to problems. The work of the Executive Committee is basically fiscal and advisory. It operates in harmony with the Convention's desire to provide checks and balances essential to effective democratic processes. The Southern Baptist Convention has assigned it two different kinds of responsibility. First, it is charged with administrative duties for the Southern Baptist Convention when it is not in session. Thus, the Executive Committee receives and distributes funds given for various missions, evangelism, educational, and ministry enterprises for the Southern Baptist Convention, plans and manages the annual meeting, publishes the convention annual, assists convention committees, handles legal matters, and provides staff assistance to the elected officials of the convention. The committee also handled in matters that have not been otherwise assigned specifically to any other entity as arising between convention sessions. The Executive Committee is also assigned program responsibilities. 1. Cooperative program promotion. 2. Managing the Southern Baptist Foundation, which manages proceeds for wills, bequests, and other investments. 3. Operating Baptist Press, the SBC News Service. And 4. Providing Convention Relations Office, which articulates Southern Baptist positions to constituents and to the public through the media, as well as producing SBC Life News magazine. Now the question is, what are the qualifications of the ones who work in such organizations? That's what we're going to discuss next time.